So just a brief disclaimer, this is going to be a very long video. A very long video. We got a lot of stuff to break down. The analyst investor day just concluded for T-Mobile. So grab your gallons of water, grab your protein shakes, your late lunch, maybe early dinner, depending. And we're going to break this down. In this video, it'll be a bit of a summary. And then we're going to make some smaller individual videos kind of breaking down the information that was given today to the public, the investors, and anyone really that's interested in the information. I mean, the live stream took place on YouTube. So let's get right into this video. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And T-Mobile just concluded their 4-hour, or maybe I think it was a little over 3.5 hours of the investor analyst day. It was a long, drawn out presentation with fire chats. They could have probably did those fire chats in separate videos and posted them on YouTube, in my opinion, but they did it anyway. So it was very long and drawn out. I got my notes. I got my notes ready for this breakdown. There's an article already of this that's posted. So I will leave a link to this in the description for those of you who are interested in checking that out. So this is going to be more of a summary breakdown of what took place today. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't like. I'll be very honest with you guys. There are some positive takeaways for me, but there's a lot of negative that I felt like wasn't called out during the Q&A. None of the investors cared to ask, and it wasn't part of the presentation. So I'm going to be very straightforward in this video and very honest, and I'm going to say, look, this is not going to work for me. So I'm going to call T-Mobile out. So some of the stuff very early on during the presentation, since 2020, since the close of the merger between T-Mobile and Sprint, in areas where T-Mobile was very under-indexed, under-penetrated, very low percentage of market share, which is, of course, small market rural areas and T-Mobile for Business, the enterprise side. They have since 2020 added 12 million total postpaid ads. So that's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big accomplishment, and it allowed them to grow to the share that they are at today. What we didn't get, and then like I said, I'm going to call them out, we didn't get a further guidance beyond the 20%. They guided all the way up until 2027, and we did not get a new guidance for 25%, 30% of small market rural area share, 25% of business share. We got none of that. No further guidance on any of ambitions for additional rural share or shares in the small market rural areas or T-Mobile for Business beyond what they guided back in 2021. So I felt like that was a negative in my book. So the next piece, which is very interesting, I feel, so out of the 80,000 sites today total, 64,000 of them have mid-band. That's the 80% mark that they disclosed to us. Out of the total site count, 90% of it has low band 5G, which is the 600 megahertz that we are using today. Also, quickly want to throw this in, switching leadership in small market rural areas. So T-Mobile is leading that part now, and that's something that we're going to come used to because they are continuing to signal a growth strategy to the market. There were a couple of articles not too long ago stating T-Mobile might become a income stock. That's not going to happen for a very long time. They disclosed that today. They are looking to continue to grow. That's their main strategy, and that's what they signal to a ton of investors and analysts that were at this event today. So very interestingly, we got some guidance on broadband. So the guidance finishing out, I believe it's next year, is 7 to 8 million on FWA. We have an updated target of 12 million by 2028. That is 4 million more versus the peak target of the 7 to 8 million. From 8 million to 12 million, that's 4 million more FWA customers that T-Mobile is anticipated to grow by 2028. Now, here's the problem that I have with that, and this is where I'm going to call T-Mobile out. Very, very straightforward, very, very simple. They did not give us a real explanation of how they would support an additional 4 million customers on the network. FWA is still coming from the wireless network. That is a completely separate business case versus fiber to the premise that they're also doing, but they're doing that through open access. So the FWA portion, the reason I question it, they very simply, very quickly just said we're still using the fallow capacity model. That's what they stated. They stated that 3.5 years ago, or maybe a little bit before that, when they told us they were getting into FWA, when, you know, with that additional spectrum they're gaining from the merger. They told us the fallow capacity model would take them to 7 to 8 million. And I understood it at the time. Okay, got it. Too easy, right? Let's move forward. Today, it's a bit different, right? You're guiding up. You're not even giving an 11 to 12. You're just saying you're going to get to 12 million by 2028. How are you going to support that? They gave a slideshow that stated now the average usage on the network monthly is about 500 gigs per user, and they're saying that's increasing 10% annually. So that's a lot of additional usage coming onto the network, and we got no plans, and I haven't even gotten into that yet, but we've really gotten no plans, detailed plans around C-band DoD. They gave no timelines, nothing on when they would deploy it, nothing. I mean, it was so vague. I got annoyed by it. So yeah, no, nothing really from the network. There's nothing on my notes in this article that is going to give you any new information that you didn't already know as it pertains to the network. So that was mind-blowing to me. I thought we were going to get, okay, we're going to increase our site builds. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Instead, we got a bunch of AI talk. Artificial intelligence on the RAN, artificial intelligence through the T-Mobile app. And that's just stuff I'm going to have to break down in separate videos, because that they literally had fire chats around this AI stuff. OpenAI, they're going to partner with OpenAI. They're going to partner with NVIDIA, just a bunch of AI stuff. But for the FWA, I am really curious, and I am really questioning the decision making behind it, because we got no additional information on millimeter wave deployment, point to point. We got none of that today. So at the very end during the Q&A, Ulf, who's in charge of the network, kind of just said, well, we'll just see how it plays out, type of situation. So this is going to be very interesting to monitor, because they're going to allow, what they're going to do to achieve this additional growth on FWA, they're going to allow more users onto sectors. They're going to do it in a different way. They're going to use new CPU units that are more efficient, that can handle more, that are more efficient, stuff like that. And my cats stated that during the presentation. We have better CPU units now where we can allow more users onto the same sector. So that's going to be very interesting to keep track of. So that was a new guidance that we got, the 12 million. Also, we have a guidance on homes passed with fiber to the premise by 2030, which is going to be between 12 to 50 million homes passed by 2030, which is very interesting, right? That seems to be still a fairly small scale comparing to the competition. Verizon is going to be right at that scale, if not even more, with Frontier. And AT&T is already blown well past that. I mean, AT&T is looking at 40 to 50 million homes passed. So T-Mobile not really playing, I don't even want to say on the level playing field. They're not even within reach of the scale of the competition. And I don't even know if they have any ambitions to even get to 50 million homes passed. I mean, that would take them 2040, 2050. It's going to take them several decades to get there, if they even have an ambition to get there, and will very, very likely have new leadership by that time anyway. So those are the two new guidance that we got out of that. So if you want to write that down, from this event. Another thing from a network perspective, I want to throw in, 80% of sites have 3 5G layers: 600, N25 and 41, or 241, N71. At least 80% have 3 of those layers. And then what I mentioned, 90% of sites have the 5G low band. So today, as they discuss 5G advanced, they did bring that up during the presentation. Only 20% of devices today can make use of 4-carrier aggregation. So T-Mobile has 4-carrier aggregation enabled at scale on the network, looking to do 5-carrier aggregation at some point, but only 20% of devices today can actually make use of that. So there's a lot of untapped potential on the T-Mobile network. So just some other points that I want to throw in. There was a lot of presentations. It was a very similar format as I anticipated that we saw in 2021. The only difference, 2021 was pre-recorded due to COVID. This one was in San Francisco. It was an in-person event with a live audience. So some interesting stuff to note here. 65% of new customers are choosing Go 5G Plus or Go 5G Next. I'm going to be very blunt here. I would say 63 to 64% are likely choosing just Go 5G Plus. I don't see a higher percentage of people choosing the Go 5G Next. It's just not a very attractive plan. It's priced very high. So I wanted to get that out the way. Also, something interesting to note, I saw on the slideshow, 30% of the entire base is on a premium plan. That's going to help T-Mobile achieve higher ARPUs, even if they're driving or pushing the ARPA strategy. As you're moving more of the base onto your premium plans, they're paying more per user. So that's something that I wanted to also notate on this notes. And then the free cash flow is 18 to 19 billion, which is a 25% increase. So that's generating massive cash flow for the business, for them to do further investments. So now CapEx is not going to increase. That's another negative. So they increased the FWA target from 7 to 8 to 12 million, but they did not increase CapEx. So CapEx is to remain at between the 9 to 10 billion, but they're thinking they're going to be right at the midpoint, but at 9.5 billion is where they're anticipating to come in at for the CapEx through 2027. Now that could change. They say they could increase. Just depends on how the business evolves over the years. Now, I'm still stuck on the network presentation. Ulf did not give us a lot new to really talk about. I'm actually disappointed in that. They had all eyes on them for 3.5+ hours, and they did not further elaborate on the network. Where are you on the 10K new site builds? Where are you on Sprint Keep sites? Where are you on small cells? We did not get any of that today. Nothing. All we heard is customer focus driven coverage. We're going to use this AI platform to really pinpoint where it's best to spend our capital dollars. It's almost like as if they were saying previously when we were building towers, it was just an inefficient spend. And no, that's just not the case. It's just corporate spill, in my opinion. And yes, AI will help. I'm not disputing that. It will help. But previously, wherever they built a tower, it was needed. It's just not something that was a waste. You know what I mean? When you're speaking capital efficient and all this mumbo jumbo. Every site now, especially as we head into more AI, right? Eventually, Apple will launch artificial intelligence, and that's set to come next month. So that's going to increase usage. You're obviously increasing FWA by 4 million more, so that's increasing more usage. So I don't want to sit here and speculate because they didn't give us anything, but there were some people messaging me saying at this point, if we don't get any further details on further densification, small cells, and anything else, then T-Mobile is looking to be like Verizon was in the LTE era, right? Just a pure congested mess. Most amount of customers with the least amount of spectrum. That was Verizon during LTE, right? They had the least amount of spectrum per customer. They had a ton of customers that they had to support with a huge densification plan. So what they did, they initially sold the Frontier assets and then said, we're going to get 100% focused on our wireless business. And that's exactly what they did. And the outcome was the best LTE network you could possibly hope for. Now, in this case, T-Mobile is a growth company. They know how to grow, and they will load up every ounce of that spectrum. I promise you, I'm saying it here in this video. They are going to grow, and they're going to fill every ounce of the spectrum that they have. They can say, I think they said in the slideshow that they have another 60% of spectrum to tap into that they're not even using today. You know, they have C-band DOD. They also discussed millimeter wave for like 2 seconds. So they have that to use, but they didn't present a plan today or a strategy on how they would use that moving forward. So we're still left in the dark. You can ask questions in the comments right now about C-band and DOD. I have no clue when they plan to deploy that at scale. Now, what I can say is if a tower with N41 today is doing 1.5, even a gig, right? Are they going to deploy C-band and DOD on that site? No. You know, that's just common sense. So we can discuss it in that manner. But today we still have no idea. We're left in the dark as to what's going to happen with the deployment of C-band. So that's just something that I wanted to talk about and call them out for it. I'm calling them out. You guys know I'm objective. And, you know, I still say Verizon will have the best network. I stick by that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But quite a bit disappointed that we didn't get any further elaboration on the network strategy. They must have completed a large part of the initial 2021 strategy by now. They've clearly made strides. The network has been growing, but they're making a lot of bold claims that one will have to say, and I have to say it, is like, you got to check yourself because, you know, during the T-Mobile for Business presentation, Collie Fields is calling out FirstNet, talking about, you know, with all the first responders and their new use cases and the use cases being more data driven. FirstNet really can't manage and handle those users with just band 14, right? Calling that out and then saying it could take them, I don't know, a few years through 2028 to even get them on an SA core when we can do that today already. And then they introduced T priority and said we went live with that in New York City, which is our flagship market, and we have agencies joining us, including the city of New York City. So yes, that's a big deal, but they're making a lot of bold claims without presenting a network plan, how they're going to move forward to really support all of this. Yes, they made a lot of investments already over the years. I understand and I get it. They made a hefty investment. But what about the indoor situations, right? There's still a lot of DAS systems that are missing inside of these big skyscrapers in New York City, especially in Manhattan, right? There's still a lot of backup generators that are missing. There's still a redundancy that's missing. They really didn't address that. Have they been investing to make that better? Yes, but they're still not at a high enough percentage, in my opinion. So I got to call that out. You know, you got to take the good with the bad. So I think for this video that summarizes what took place today. I'm gonna rewatch it, of course, over the next few days. I'm going to use some of the slideshows as placeholders for videos in the future, probably another one today. Just a lot to break down. It's 3.5 hours worth of information. I can't put that all in one video. You know what I mean? That video would be 3.5 hours. So we can't do that. But there was a Q&A. There was just a lot of presenting. It was John Fryer from CEO of Consumer, Collie Field, CEO of the business. Mike Katz presented twice. Mike Siebert had a long opening statement with the fire chats. So just a lot of information to digest and to present. But for the most part, I'm very disappointed. Not a lot of additional information. It was almost just like they could have just had an earnings call and gave that additional information, in my opinion. But so at least we know some things, right? We know the CapEx is not going up. It's going to stay at 9.5 billion for at least through 2027. We know FWA is going to increase to 12 million on the guidance. Fiber is going to between 12 to 15 million homes passed. I think they anticipate that to be at the high end. It's probably closer to 15 million. And the network, apparently, according to them, is the best network in the industry. It's firing on all cylinders, and they just keep getting faster and faster and faster. So let's break this down in other videos. There's a lot of other information about small market rural areas. I got to break that all down. Probably take additional notes. So, and then the AI situation too, that's a whole nother thing. So yeah, make sure you guys stay tuned for more. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.